What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today in Modern Warfare 3 we got our first solid weapon update since the game launched. And with this, while it wasn't a ton of guns that were affected, the ones that were adjusted saw some pretty significant changes. There's some pretty big nerfs here, as well as some big buffs. And without further ado, let's just dive right into it, and we're going to start this off with the assault rifle category. And first up here, we've got the Holger 5.56. This one saw some pretty significant nerfs here to its damage profile. And just looking at it pre-patch versus post-patch, the first thing they did is they equalized the damage everywhere in the body, which means we don't get that bonus damage to the upper torso and arms anymore. And while it's still a 4-shot kill up close, pre-patch, all you had to do is mix 1 headshot in combined with 2 upper torso shots to get a 3-shot kill. Now you're going to need 2 headshots mixed in with body shots in order to make that happen. Additionally, and more importantly with the Holger 5.56, previously, we had an infinite 4-shot kill potential as long as you were hitting upper torso shots for the longer ranges. Whereas now, our 4-shot kill potential to the body is only 36.8 meters, and anything beyond that's going to be a 5-shot kill unless you're able to mix headshots in. And then finally with the Holger 5.56, they did nerf the sprint out time a little bit. Previously, our base sprint out time was 210 milliseconds. Now that's bumped up to 231 milliseconds, and our tactical sprint out time went from about 300 milliseconds up to 350 milliseconds. And with all of this combined, these are some pretty big nerfs to the Holger 5.56. I'd say it's probably still going to be a perfectly usable gun, but it no longer stands out as being one of the best and most consistent guns in the entire game. As for the next one, I'm sure many people are going to be happy to see this, since this gun was starting to take over, especially the higher skilled lobbies. The DG58 caught a good handful of nerfs as well. The first thing they did here is they reduced our damage profile at close and mid ranges. And while we still get a consistent 4-shot kill in the maximum damage range, now for that second damage range, this is going to be a 5-shot kill without headshots, whereas previously it was still a 4-shot kill to the body. Additionally, and most importantly here, our headshot damage no longer also applies to the neck with this gun, so it's going to be much more difficult to get that additional bonus damage with that next shot. And on top of that, with our damage reductions, in that maximum damage range, previously, we just needed to land 1 shot to the neck or head, whereas now we have to land 2 of those shots in the burst to the head itself. So we're going to be seeing far fewer situations where somebody just literally insta-deletes you with a 1-burst kill with the DG58. It's still possible, it's just not likely to happen nearly as often as pre-patch. Now on top of this, they increased our burst delay by 20 milliseconds. Previously, this is 100 milliseconds, now it's 120. That's still quite a fast burst delay. You can still spam this gun reasonably quickly, but this does tack on 20 milliseconds to our time to kill as long as we're not getting a 1-burst kill, and therefore that will make this gun a little bit less forgiving overall with that burst delay. And when you combine all of these nerfs to the DG58, it's definitely going to be quite noticeably worse than it was pre-patch. But again, just like with the Holger, at least just looking at the stats here, I haven't really had any playtime since this update. I still think the DG58 is going to be a very usable gun. I don't think it's going to be absolutely horrible now. I just don't think it's going to be dominating lobbies like it was pre-patch. But then finally, for the assault rifle category, the FR5.56 also caught a nerf, and with this one, we saw a slight damage reduction across the board with this gun, and just like with the DG58, it's still going to be a 4-shot kill in the maximum damage range. However, that second damage range went from a 4-shot kill potential now to a 5-shot kill. And another thing that's really similar as the DG58 nerf, previously, we needed to land 1 headshot mixed in with torso shots if we wanted to get a 1-burst kill or a 3-shot kill with the FR5.56, and now you need 2 to the head. Now, unlike the DG58 though, pre-patch, that next shot multiplier was the same as the torso multiplier, not the headshot multiplier. So that part didn't change, it still requires headshots just like pre-patch, but now instead of 1 headshot mixed in with body shots, we need 2. Now, on top of this for the FR5.56, our aim down sight time was nerfed. Previously, it was 240 milliseconds. Now it's 260 milliseconds. And our sprint to fire time was also nerfed. Previously, this was 210 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 300 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. Whereas post-patch, this is now 231 and 350 milliseconds respectively. And I'll be honest with this one, I think they may have taken it a little bit too far. Pre-patch, the FR5.56 was just clearly outclassed by the DG58. Really, the only stat that was better on the FR5.56 was its range value. And I guess you could argue accuracy as well, but the DG58 is incredibly accurate anyway, so it's not like there's a huge discrepancy here. But outside of that, it has a noticeably longer burst delay, so it's less forgiving. And now, after these nerfs, it also has a noticeably slower aim down sight and sprint out time, and it requires the same number of shots to kill as the DG58, as well as the same combination of headshots and body shots. So personally, I do think they took the FR5.56 nerf just a little bit too far, but that is just my opinion. Now let's move into the SMG category, and we're going to start this off with the Striker, the 45 Striker, by the way, not the Striker 9. We will cover that in a little bit. And the main thing they did here is they just eliminated our middle damage range and then shifted everything to the left. And it's much easier to visualize this with the range chart. As you can see here, our 4-shot kill potential to the body pre-patch was only 9 meters. Post-patch, it's now 19 meters. That is a massive buff to our 4-shot kill range. And so this gun should immediately feel significantly better than it did pre-patch. It's still kept in check quite a bit at longer ranges, by the way. It does have a very slow time to kill if you're outside of the effective damage ranges. And then on top of this, they did improve our aim down sight speed from 240 milliseconds down to 230 milliseconds. So after this patch, the Striker should feel much, much better than pre-patch, although still not nearly as good as it was in the beta. Next, let's talk about the AMR9, and with this gun, they basically just shifted some body multipliers around and then adjusted the damage profile as well. Pre-patch, we had different multipliers to the leg, the lower torso and arms, as well as the upper torso and neck. Those were all different damage values, whereas now we have our base damage, which is our leg damage, and then we just have torso, arms, and neck for the other multiplier. And that multiplier zone previously was just the upper torso. Now it applies anywhere but the legs or head. So this should be much more consistent, especially when you get to like mid and longer ranges when it comes to those body multipliers and mixing shots together. Up close, this actually doesn't make a difference. It was a 5-shot kill anywhere in the torso pre-patch, and it's still a 5-shot kill anywhere in the torso post-patch. But this should at least help with some consistency with the gun. However, more importantly with the AMR9, they buffed the sprint out time, and this was desperately needed with this gun. Pre-patch, its sprint out time was much more in line with an LMG than anything else in this game, at 294 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 433 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. That is ridiculously slow. Even for an assault rifle, that's ridiculously slow, and this is an SMG. Post-patch, we saw a very significant improvement here. Our standard sprint out time is now 206 milliseconds, and our tactical sprint out time is roughly 300 milliseconds. This is now more in line with what you typically expect with an assault rifle, and that is intended with this gun. This is designed to behave kind of like an SMG AR hybrid, so it was always meant to have a slow sprint out time for an SMG, but now it's at least somewhat reasonable, and it's not going to be worse than all of the assault rifles in the game like it was pre-patch. But then finally for this update, the Striker 9 caught a significant nerf to its damage, unfortunately. And this was just for our up-close damage profile. They cut this down to the point where up close, we can no longer get a 5-shot kill. It's a 6-shot kill to the body up close, which is quite a significant nerf to the effectiveness of this gun. However, I will mention, if you can manage to mix just one headshot in with those torso shots, you can still get a 5-shot kill. But that's obviously still noticeably worse than pre-patch, where we just had to hit them in the body for a 5-shot kill. So that's pretty unfortunate. I did think the Striker 9 was one of the better SMGs pre-patch, but I do think this was a bit too much of a nerf, at least in my opinion. However, it did also come with a buff, and this was to its aim down sight time. Pre-patch, it had a pretty bad aim down sight time for an SMG at 275 milliseconds. That has been cut down to 225 milliseconds, which is much more along the lines of what you would expect with an SMG. Now, was that buff enough to compensate for the nerf to damage? I wouldn't say so, and unfortunately, the Striker 9 is going to be noticeably worse overall, which is unfortunate because even at point-blank range, you're going to get outgunned by most assault rifles while using this gun. And with that, that is going to wrap it up for today's video on all of the weapon balancing that took place in today's update. And like I said, while they didn't change a ton of the guns in the game, these were some key changes that are going to have quite a big impact on the meta in Modern Warfare 3. So generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with these, although like I said, I think the FR556 and the Striker 9 nerfs ended up going a little bit too far, and they may have to dial those back at some point in the future. Obviously, time will tell when it comes to that one, but outside of those two, I would say the changes they made here were quite positive for the overall weapon balance in this game. Now, of course, those are just my opinions on this, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this weapon balancing update in those comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.